Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a really interesting source you sent over. It's a detailed review of Colleen Hoover's novel, Verity.
Yeah, it's a great one to look at.
It really is. And, the review points out this book is kind of a big shift for her, moving from romance into, well, psychological suspense.
Probably a striking departure, as they put it.
Exactly. And it promises this chilling reading experience that lingers.
Yeah.
So why is this book, Verity, so relevant for thinking about how stories mess with our heads, basically, with truth and perception?
Well, that's the core of it, isn't it? The review really frames Verity as like a masterclass in blurring those exact lines. Truth manipulation. It's not just, having an unreliable narrator. It's how the story itself kind of pulls you in, makes you feel almost complicit. You're constantly second-guessing.
Okay, yeah.
And that's like the hallmark of the best psychological thrillers. Verity just, well, it nails that feeling.
Right. So for anyone who hasn't read it or just needs a quick refresher, what's the basic premise the review lays out? How does it set up all this tension?
Okay, so the setup, it feels pretty standard at first glance, almost like a classic trope,
Yeah.
You've got Lowen Ashley, she's a writer, kind of struggling, and she lands this amazing opportunity.
Which is?
To finish a best-selling series by this super famous author, Verity Crawford. The catch is, Verity's had this terrible accident, she's incapacitated, so Lowen moves into the Crawford house to go through all of Verity's notes.
Okay, standard enough. But then comes the twist, the review highlights, right? Lowen finds something unexpected.
Exactly. That's where it gets interesting. She stumbles upon this unpublished manuscript like an autobiography written by Verity herself.
Ah. And let me guess, it's not exactly sunshine and roses.
Not even close. The review calls it dark, depraved, and packed with horrifying confessions, especially about her real feelings towards her kids and her husband, Jeremy. Really twisted stuff.
Wow. Okay. So that discovery, it completely flips the script on Lowen's job, doesn't it?
Totally. It stops being about sorting notes and becomes this obsessive dive into Verity's messed up past. The review points out this is what hooks you immediately.
Right.
Lowen starts wondering, is Verity really out of it? Or is she maybe faking it? Hiding in plain sight?
Ooh, creepy.
Yeah. And then there's the whole dynamic with the husband, Jeremy. As Lowen gets closer to him, her own sort of moral compass starts spinning. It gets messy.
That sounds like fertile ground for exploring some deeper themes. What does the review say Verity really digs into?
Oh, definitely. A big one is truth versus perception. The book just constantly plays with your trust as a reader. You never quite know what's real. And connected to that, it's full of these really unsettling power dynamics, psychological bames. The review mentions manipulation and gaslighting specifically.
Makes sense. Where someone tries to make you doubt your own reality.
Exactly. And it forces you, the reader, to question everyone. Every single character feels potentially unreliable. You're constantly reevaluating.
It sounds exhausting, but in a good way. What else?
Well, there's also obsession and voyeurism. Lowen getting sucked into Verity's secrets, becoming kind of morally gray herself.
Right. She's not just an observer anymore?
Nope. And underneath it all, there's this current of grief, loss, and trauma. Especially within the marriage between Verity and Jeremy. It adds this whole other layer of emotional weight.
So let's talk about the characters then. The review seems to emphasize their ambiguity.
Absolutely key. Lowen, the protagonist, she's described as complex, relatable, but definitely flawed. You see her vulnerability, her internal struggles.
Okay.
Then there's Verity Crawford. The review basically calls her one of the most chilling female characters in recent thrillers. Is she a monster? Is she a victim? The writing leaves it really unsettled.
That's where the reader has to do some work.
For sure. And finally, Jeremy, the husband. He's presented as mysterious, charming, but maybe complicit. His real intentions only come out slowly. It makes you ask, how do you even judge these people?
Yeah, definitely sounds like shades of gray all around. Now, moving beyond the plot and characters, the review also talks about how Hoover tells the story, her writing style. What's notable there, especially since this is a thriller?
Yeah, it praises her style.
Yeah.
Still very accessible, fluid, and emotionally charged, even with the darker subject matter. But the real power, according to the review, is the structure.
How so?
It uses what they call dual-layered storytelling. So you're switching back and forth between Lowen's perspective in the present day and reading excerpts from Verity's disturbing manuscript. It's seamless, but it creates this constant, tension, this counterpoint.
So you're getting two stories at once, essentially.
Right. And you, the reader, you're constantly comparing them, trying to piece things together. It's a really effective way to build suspense. very precise.
And pacing, does it drag or?
Oh no, the review says it's tight, like no wasted scenes.
Yeah.
Apparently, almost every chapter ends on a cliffhanger, something that just makes you have to turn the page.
Ah, that addictive quality.
Totally. Pulls you right in.
Okay, so summing up the good stuff, what makes Verity stand out as an electrifying psychological thriller, according to this review?
Well, the big things are that intricate, fast-paced plot, definitely the high tension throughout, and those shock value reveals.
Right, yeah, the twists.
Yeah, but the review suggests they aren't just cheap shocks. They're like psychological gut punches that make you rethink everything you thought you knew about the characters.
Okay, so they land with impact.
Definitely. It evokes genuine fear, discomfort, and curiosity, which is really what you want from this genre, right? That morally gray exploration of people and relationships. And it doesn't pull any punches.
But it's not all smooth sailing. The review does mention some things potential readers should be aware of, right? Considerations.
Yes, absolutely. And this is important. The review stresses it contains graphic and disturbing content. It's intense. So it's definitely flagged as not for the faint-hearted or sensitive readers.
Good to know. A content warning, basically.
Pretty much. And then there's the ending. It's apparently quite controversial.
How so? Ambiguous.
Yeah, the review says some may find the twist open-ended or frustratingly ambiguous, although it also notes that many readers love that aspect.
One of those endings that sparks debate.
Exactly. It makes you think, does a story need everything tied up neatly? Or is that ambiguity part of the point?
Good question.
And just to reiterate, anyone picking this up expecting a typical Colleen Hoover romance, they might be in for a shock. The tone is much darker.
Right, so manage expectations based on her other work. Okay, so for you listening now, this sounds intriguing. The mind games, the morally gray areas, the big twists.
Then the review suggests Verity is probably right up your alley.
Yeah. It recommends it for fans of authors like Gillian Flynn, Think Gone Girl, or B.A. Paris, who wrote Behind Closed Doors.
Or just anyone who enjoys a really well-done, unreliable narrator story.
Absolutely. So, reflecting on this deep dive, Verity sounds like, well, an unforgettable, provocative read. One that, as the review says, will probably divide readers in the best way possible.
Definitely seems like it sticks with you.
For sure.
And given how much it plays with truth and perception, maybe a final thought for you to chew on is, what does it really mean when a story makes us question everything, even what's real within the story itself?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of truth are we actually looking for when we read something like Verity, and how much ambiguity are we okay with, really?
That's interesting. And maybe also, how do our own biases shape how we read these kinds of ambiguous stories? Perhaps this deep dive into Verity will make you look a little differently at the next story you pick up, where things aren't quite what they seem.